Your birth is my birth. Your death is my death. After Piaf. Welcome to my channel, She Speaks Too. Today we're going to be reviewing I May Destroy You, episode 10. I really enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed meeting Mama Bella and Papa Bella, Baby Bella when she was a baby, Brother Bella. So I really enjoyed meeting the family. And then I also they showed us some patterns from Arabella's past. It looks like when things are uncomfortable, or she feels guilty about something, she tucks it away, forgets a whole chunk of her life. And we see that she does this now as an adult. She stuffs things away. She doesn't deal with them head on. And so that gives us a glimpse of how she dealt with things in the past. So the episode opens, it shows the clock. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. You can tell that it's in the morning because her brother has his robe on. He's laying on the couch and Arabella is sitting up waiting for her dad. He is supposed to come and take them to McDonald's, but they've just been waiting and waiting. Brother has given up. She hears the doorbell. She runs to the door. And she tells her brother he's here to take us to McDonald's. Daddy comes in the house and he is wearing the typical leather jacket that all African fathers or African uncles have. I'm Liberian, West African, and they are Ghanaian. And so I'm very familiar with what the African uncles and daddies wear. All of them have this leather coat that this man walked in with. And she says, oh, we're going to McDonald's, to her brother. Father says, oh, no, I was bringing you the McDonald's. So apparently he lets them down quite often. So he comes in the house, he brings the McDonald's, and she tells her mom, see, I told you he was coming. Looks like he has disappointed them, like I said, quite often. So she starts eating the McDonald's, and as you notice, the brother doesn't wake up to eat anything, but the brother was up. He just acts like he was sleeping, I guess just not to deal with the dad. And she just kind of engorges herself with the French fries. She just can't stop. And that reminds me of episode 3 when she was in Italy. And her and Terry were doing the drugs, and she just couldn't stop doing drugs. She even went to the bathroom, just opened her mouth, and had girls putting random drugs. Terry was the more cautious one. So it seems like everything she does that feels good, she does in excess, and she's been doing that from a child. So she's engorging herself. Mom comes with a bag because she's about to throw up. And so that was that scene. So to Arabella now in the future, regular Arabella, she's brushing her teeth. Before they even pan to her, they show that the trash bag with Simon's coat. We see Kwame working out. We see Terry arriving and reading a script to Ben. Arabella's father calls her on the phone. They're talking, and he says that he's going to be there for her mother's birthday. So she's really excited, you know, Daddy, really excited. Ben comes and tells Arabella Terry's here, maybe to escape having to rehearse with Terry. So Arabella, Ben, and Terry are sitting outside together. Terry is rehearsing. She has a big role that she's going to audition for. Ben is kind of helping her. Ben is so easygoing. I really love Ben. I wish they would show more of him. He's helping Terry. I don't know if he wants to or not. And then Arabella and Terry kind of start talking. Terry was like, don't you need to write? Arabella says that Carrie's orders, she needs to take a break. Terry says, well, you don't get paid unless you write. And Arabella turns to Ben and says, can you cover the rent for another month? And he just easygoing Ben says, yeah. And so Terry's going in on Arabella. You return to ego death. You don't write. It would be one thing if you were on a hiatus, but this just seems to be ongoing. You keep returning to the scene of the crime. How is that healthy? And it looks like Terry is very frustrated with Arabella. I think Arabella looks good. I feel like Arabella is calm. She's peaceful. She always looks so pretty to me with her natural hair shaved. She looks really good. I don't know why Terry's so frustrated. She looks like she's done quite a bit of work on herself to even have that bag out. To know that she's going to meet up with Simon is proof enough. But I think that Terry needs to be in control of a lot of things, and so maybe this is not how she wanted it to go. And plus she has been meeting Arabella at Ego Death Bar when Arabella goes. So Arabella tells her, you don't have to go with me if you feel uncomfortable. So they go back and forth, and then Ben tells Arabella her vape is, you know, that's not working. There's nothing coming out of that. And so they start laughing, and you can just see the frustration on Terry's face. Then we cut to Kwame. He is on a bus or a train, and he is back to his old ways. He's checking his grinder and he's getting messages. We see him with a revolving door of men, just one after the other. Then we see Arabella go with Terry to the audition. And I have never seen an actress, well, I haven't been around that many actresses, so no. But she is quite nervous for this audition, very nervous, to the point where Arabella is like holding her hand, telling her, "You'll do great." But she's so nervous, you know, it's like, have you not done this before? So Terry's gonna go do that. Then Arabella leaves to meet with Simon. And when we meet Simon, this Simon that we meet is a more humble Simon. Still not apologetic enough, but more humble than previous scenes. We find out that he doesn't have his job anymore. He said too many people were looking for him. He also asked Arabella, "Did you talk to Kat?" Kat is his wife, and Arabella says yes. And then Simon says, "Well, at least my mom's cooking is second to none," just implying that not only has he lost his job, he's also lost his wife. I do not like Simon. He's more sympathetic. He's a more sympathetic character now, but he's still pompous. I don't think Arabella got the heartfelt apology from him that she deserved. He didn't. Hopefully he wasn't the one that assaulted her, but knowing that I left you, regardless if Terry told me, there should be more. There should be more emotion, more. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He did kind of say he was sorry, but it wasn't what I wanted from him. So we see that Arabella has a flashback. They're on the bench, and the person assaulting her now is Simon. So she says, "Can we walk?" And so they start walking. I have another thing to say about Simon. The fact that in episode 1, he could sit with his wife and his mistress and let his wife believe that she handpicked this girl and he doesn't know this girl and he's been sleeping with her for so many months, lets you know the type of man that he is. Made a complete fool of your wife. When you rewatch episode 1, you see the cousin even looking at his phone and looking up at the wife like, what is going on here? These two women are talking. They're actually bonding, and Simon is sitting there knowing that he's already sleeping with Alyssa. So from that, you know the type of man he is. So he is not sympathetic enough for Arabella. So they walk. Arabella asks him, "Are you mad at me?" He says no, and he asks her, "Are you mad at me?" And she says sometimes. And so they kind of apologize to each other. She said she feels bad for even thinking that he could have been the one, and he also was like, "No, we're good." And then he feels bad for leaving her. Then he drops a bombshell to Arabella. "I'm so glad she told you." And Arabella's like, "Who?" And he basically tells her, "Terry was the one who told me to leave you." And so when Arabella hears that, he was like, "Oh, you didn't know?" His face looked like he was genuinely shocked that she didn't know. However, I don't know if he did this on purpose, knowing that he didn't want to be the only one to be blamed for this forever. So I don't know if he truly did not know that Arabella didn't know, or if this was just a way to include someone else in all this guilt that he's carrying by himself, that he left Arabella, but Terry told him to leave. One thing that I didn't say previously was that this was really cute. When Terry found out that it was Arabella's mother's birthday, she called Arabella's mom, and they were doing FaceTime. "Happy birthday, Auntie." And then Ben just jumped in there, "Hi, Auntie, happy birthday." And I thought that was so cute. You know, Ben he's beginning to be so likable to me, although people still think he's creepy. I've even heard twice now, what if he was the father of Arabella's baby when she had the abortion, from 2 different people. So, but I just was like, thought that was so cute when he joined in to say that. And then both Arabella and Terry was talking about her father, how what does he do? He doesn't do much, sits at the table around Christmas like Homer Simpson, eats father-sized portions that he doesn't deserve. And so she was kind of venting to Arabella, and I think they have similar experiences with their African fathers. In some ways, African fathers can do the least emotionally, but you still have to respect them. And whereas in America, kids gonna be like, forget you, you haven't done nothing for me, you're a deadbeat dad, and this and this and this. And for the most part, we cannot talk to our fathers like that, regardless of how we feel. We just roll with it, respect him. Hi, Papa, how are you? This and this and this. And so that was interesting. Arabella's at her mom's house, and they're cooking in the kitchen, her and her brother. Her and her brother have a sit down to talk. And then this aunt comes, and the brother obviously knows who it is. Arabella has no clue. She's mouthing to her brother, who is that? And it's Auntie Elnora. Elnora gives their mother a card and tells her happy birthday. And the mother announces, kids, Elnora is leaving now. So the brother says to Arabella, how do you not remember anything? And he says he even learned to understand their dialect tree, which is a common spoken dialect in Ghana. And Arabella never even tried to learn it. He said he learned it in order to see what the elders were saying. And he says you just can't recall anything. You don't remember anything. And so we know now that this is Arabella's defense mechanism. She doesn't remember anything. She blocks things out, and it's done not on purpose. It's done without her even knowing. But she truly does not remember this woman. And then there's a flashback of Elnora coming to the house when Arabella and her brother were waiting on the McDonald's from her father. And Elnora is telling the mother, where is he? He's no good. And Arabella's mother says, don't say that. The children are here. And so you think Elnora or Auntie El is a family friend, but we find out something totally different. And so Arabella and her dad, Arabella, mom, and the brother are sitting waiting on the dad, which is something I think they've done many times. The parents, we find out, are not they haven't lived together, but they were a couple. I'm not sure if they're a couple now in the present day. So they're sitting at the table waiting on the dad, and it's quite uncomfortable. The brother, he has done this many times, and he was like, I just want to eat, which is what he did when he was little. Arabella would be the one to hold out, and the mom says, no, we're waiting on your dad. Finally, there's a doorbell, and it's dad, and the mom, starts fixing her hair, and she tells the brother, go get the blue plate that he likes. So once again, this is this show of respect to this man who may not really deserve it, but this is a patriarchal culture, fathers first. And so they sit down to eat, and then they start talking about he goes in on the son. He was like, how old are you? How long you been in college? When I was, of course, African parents, when I was your age, I had my house, I was doing this, I was grown. What are you doing? You're just working out in the gym. So he starts in on the son goes in the kitchen. He's like, oh. So he goes in the kitchen, and then he comes back, and they start talking about how he used to have this orange Clementine Toyota, and how he had a house. That house would be worth $1 million now. Of course, exaggeration probably, and how it was broken into. And they start talking about this story, and the story is quite amusing. How they robbed him the first day. Then the second day he heard a car starting up, and he said he knew it was his car. And then of course, to see his car driving off. And they were talking about the break-in. He said it was because of you. And Arabella used to climb through the windows, left the window open. And when that realization hit her, she was like, oh my gosh, it was me. She goes in the room and sits in the room and starts having a flashback. Her and Terry are walking home from school. And there's a guy that really likes Arabella. Arabella likes him too, but Terry's like, you got to get out of this uniform. Once again, Terry is bossy. You can't go out looking like this. You need to change your clothes, your shoes, everything. So let's go to your dad's house. Arabella calls her dad to make sure that he's not coming home. And her dad says no, so she knows that she can just crawl in the window like she's done many times before. She crawls in the window to change. And she's meeted with Elnora, Auntie El, in a shirt. And she sees her. She goes upstairs and she sees Elnora's underwear like on the radiator. And she just looks at her. And Arabella is like stunned, because this is an auntie that is a friend of her mom that she's known. And Arabella is like 14, 15 at this time. 14. She's a teenager, obviously, at this time. So she crawls back out of the window, and as she's crawling in and out of the window, there's a car that's watching. So they now know there's an open space. So that is how the break-in happened. So they broke in, stole everything. stole the key. Then the next day they came back and got the car from her father. And so to be 14, 15 and not remember an adult that you had such a traumatic experience with is not normal. So we know now that what her defense mechanism is to block out things that she sees, things that are uncomfortable. So she has this flashback. Her mom comes in the room and her mom says, tells her mom says, "Are you okay?" And she says, yeah. She asks her mom, "Are you and Elnora friends?" And her mom says, "Yes, she was at one point your dad's plaything," letting Arabella know that she knows. And Arabella's like, "Wow, I didn't know you knew." She's like, "Yeah, what do I care? I'm single and sexy." But we know those words aren't true. You know that the mother has emotional attachment to the father. No woman cooks on her own birthday, waits for a man for hours, dresses up if they don't care. So it's kind of sad that the mom is allowing this type of behavior. Then Arabella tells her, I need, the mom hugs Arabella. And once you get that mom hug, that makes you just break down all your defenses. And she said, "I need to tell you something." So they don't show us telling her mom. So then we cut to Kwame. Kwame has met this guy. He's in the room on his phone. The man has made him a drink. And he comes in the room. He's like, "Does your drink need more sugar? Or what's going on?" Kwame hadn't even paid attention. He's just ready to do what he came to do, which is have sex. So the man comes in with 2 plates. And I was like, "Oh, he cooked. That is so nice. That's so cute." So he cooks and he comes in the room. And Kwame was like, "Why are you playing? Your name is Hot Now or something now on Grindr, and you want to sit and talk. I'm here to do the do." So the man was like, and Kwame was like, "How long have you been on Grindr anyway?" The man's like, "I just liked your pictures when I saw it, so I thought, And so Kwame is leaving to go, and the guy's sitting there. He takes a bite of his food, and Kwame pauses and he says, "I want a hug." Go, Kwame, get that hug, get that hug. And so the man gets up and he hugs, like he holds his face a little bit first, and then he embraces Kwame. And then you can see as Kwame sinks, he finally closes his eyes and relaxes. So you got 2 big embraces. You got Arabella being embraced by her mom, which makes her just feel that warmth, and then she tells her mom her whole experience. Then you got Kwame, who is being embraced too. So the 2 main characters were embraced. So one thing that I noticed when Kwame was working out in his Grindr app, his messages were going on. His screensaver is him and Arabella. It's not him, Arabella, and Terry. So it's him and Arabella. So that was interesting. Another thing I noticed was what was I gonna say? I was gonna say, in a lot of African cultures, the wife or the main woman is aware that the man is sleeping with another woman. And they even may go to the same church. They encounter each other. This is old school. I'm not talking about the new girls, us, the wild ones. I'm talking about the old school ones who had some decorum and they had respect. So the side chick or the mistress, may go to the same church. The mistress was very respectful. They would see each other. "Hey, sis, you all right? How did cheering? Blah, 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 blah." Then they would come home, talk about that woman like a dog. But when the children and them were out, "Go speak to your auntie, tell auntie hi," and you're confused because you're like, you just talked about her like a dog. She's sleeping with XYZ and you want us to show respect, but we know you don't like her. So that was very common. So Arabella's mom's relationship with Elnora is not that strange. I have seen it play out. I've seen women go to the same church, speak to each other, women sing in the same choir, but are messing with the same guy. It's unspoken. There's a level of respect. It's not mentioned. Now I'm saying this to say this is growing up old school. Now the young girls, it's different. It's totally different. I'm talking about the older women. So it was more acceptable then. They just kind of understood that's in their mind, that's how men were or are. So Arabella embraces her mom. She tells her mom. They come back out of the room, and you could tell that the mom, bless her heart, is disturbed. This happened to her daughter. She's not she's not lighthearted anymore. You could tell the wheels were turning. Why didn't she tell me? When did this, of course she knows when it happened because Arabella told her. You could see the mom worry in her face. Another thing I want to say, I find it odd that the brother wasn't aware of Arabella's social media presence or didn't know about this before, or maybe he did know and didn't tell her mom, or that someone in their friend circle's child didn't tell their parent, who then in turn told Arabella's mother, like, she's on social media talking about sexual assault and this and that. So I kind of found it odd that the mom had no idea this was going on, given how much of a social media presence Arabella had. So the dinner, during the dinner, you can tell how out of touch the father is. Arabella comes back. He says, "Are you okay?" She pauses and says, "Would you like more food, Daddy?" And he says, "Yeah." Gets up and gives her more. She gives him more food. She gives him a hug, and he never inquires again. And that's kind of very usual with, African fathers. They're not one for the emotional talk. And these are generalizations. This is not to say every African father, every African family is like that. These are just generalizations. So then we cut to Arabella waiting for Terry at Ego Death Bar. And Arabella's just sitting there. And Arabella, there's just like a self-assuredness that she has. Even though she's not writing, she's not working, I just feel like she's more in her element. She's healed. So Terry comes and Terry's like, "Did your dad show up?" And Arabella says, "Let's get a drink first." And then after they get the drink, Terry's asking again, but she assumes that Arabella's dad didn't come, and she's already saying, "I'm sorry. I knew I should have told you not to get your hopes up." And Arabella says, "No, he came. It was fine." And then Arabella says, "I met with Simon today." And Terry's looking down, I think maybe looking at her phone casually. And she says, "Oh, what did he say?" And there was such a pause that when Terry finally figured out, like, "Oh," and she looks up, she has tears in her eyes, her lips are kind of quivering, and she's beginning to say the word, "I'm sorry." Before she can even speak, Arabella says, "You are amazing. What you've done for me this past year has been amazing." And then they go into, "Your birth is my birth, G. Your death is my death." And I hope that Arabella means it. I hope that she's had time to process. I hope this is not just another thing that she's sweeping under the rug because it's Terry and Terry's been there for her. Because I would hate to see all this progress for her to have something that she needs to delve more into but wants to forgive quickly. So I do hope Terry has been a good friend for Arabella. I do hope that Arabella means it. And that is my review for episode 10. I hope you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will see you next week. Thank you.